Morning everyone, and this is session number 25 of the video lecture series anti-ranking. So in our today's session we are going to study non-uniform antenna arrays. In some of the previous sessions we had been through uniform antenna array. Uniform antenna array is defined as a system having multiple antennas, and all these antennas are placed along a straight line, and the inter-element spacing, the spacing between every two consecutive element is constant. The magnitude of the excitation or the magnitude of current provided to every element of the antenna array is constant, and the phase difference between every two consecutive element is constant. That means the phase is progressively increasing. So the phase difference between or the phase of first element is considered to be 0, then second one is having alpha, third one is having 2 alpha, fourth one is having 3 alpha, and so on and so on. Okay. Today we are going to non-uniform antenna array. Non-uniform antenna array, in particularly in our context, we consider the inter-element spacing. The spacing between two consecutive element is constant, but the excitation differs. Every element of the antenna array may have different excitation, and there is no strict rule between these excitation. So the objective is to design an antenna array having constant inter-element spacing and non-uniform antenna excitation. That is, the current provided to antenna element is different, such that it will produce maxima or it will produce a certain radiation pattern of our interest. For this fulfillment of the objective, there are two uh, such antenna arrays we are going to study. First one is binomial antenna array that we will study in this particular lecture, and the next lecture or in the next session we will go through Dolch-Chebyshev antenna array. So ultimately, the objective is to find the excitations. Okay. In general, the question given to you is such that you have to design a non-uniform binomial that the inter-element spacing t is, suppose it is given to you that t is given by suppose lambda by 2, and for this inter-element spacing find the excitation if number of elements in the antenna is given by 2. So a non-uniform antenna array is, you can consider, it will look like as shown in figure number 1. If there are even number of elements in the antenna array, then the array will look like this. The elements are situated on positive z-axis such that they are symmetrical about the origin, as you can see. So if first element is at the point z is equals to plus d by 2, as you can see, a1 is at z is equals to plus d by 2. So similarly, you have another element with same excitation a1, but at z is equals to minus d by 2. If you have an element at z is equals to 3d by 2, as you can see here, the distance of a2 from origin is 3d by 2. This is a2 to a1 is d, and a1 to 0 is d by 2. So total is 3d by 2. So at z is equals to 3d by 2, an element is placed. Then another element of same magnitude, same excitation a2 will be placed at z is equals to minus d by 2. Okay. So what we consider here in this particular case of binomial antenna array is that we have placed 2m antenna element symmetrically around origin on z-axis such that the excitations of the antenna elements are also symmetrically distributed. That means if first element on positive z-axis is having an is placed at a distance d by 2 with excitation a1, then another element with same excitation a1 will be placed at z is equals to minus d by 2. If an element is placed at a distance z2 with excitation a2, then another element with same excitation a2 will be placed at position z is equals to minus z2, and so on and so on. Okay. So I hope that will make sense. Inter-element spacing DE we consider to be small d, and R is actually the position of point of observation. Suppose the point at which the radiation pattern due to this antenna array, we have to find this point P, and the point P lies in far field of this antenna array, which is very far. Okay, so the point P lies in far field, and suppose the point P is having coordinate r theta phi with respect to this frame or with respect to this coordinate system, then the distance of point P from origin, as we know from the uh, definition in spherical coordinate system. So the distance of point P with coordinate r theta phi from origin is r. So we consider this distance of origin to the point of observation. Point of observation is somewhere very far, so the distance is r. Distance of the same point of observation from first antenna A1 is R1, from A2 R2, from AM Rn. There are total 2M antenna we consider. We consider that there are even number of elements. So even number of elements can be represented by 2M. And if we are having 2M element, we place M element on positive Z axis and remaining M elements on negative Z axis, as you can see. So the distance of first positive M antennas on positive Z axis from the point of observation is R1, R2 up to Rn. And similarly, distance of remaining M antennas placed on negative Z axis from the point of observation is R1 dash, R2 dash, Rn dash. Okay. So we can see that excitation An is symmetrical about origin. Okay, so that's an important aspect for this particular binomial array. Or if we are going to design binomial array, we should consider excitation to be symmetrical about the center of the antenna. Okay, elements will be supplied with the current magnitudes, which will be distributed symmetrically about the center of the antenna. So in this particular case, the center of the antenna array is origin, and that's why the amplitudes are distributed symmetrically about the origin. Okay, what is Zn? So Zn is the position of nth element on Z axis. So in this particular case, if you talk about first element, for first element, Z1 will be d by 2 plus d by 2. And for this magnitude element with magnitude A1, the distance is or the position is Z1 is equals to minus d by 2. Similarly, for this A2, Z is equals to minus 3 d by 2. For this M, the distance will be Z is equals to minus of 2M minus 1 d by 2. So if first element is at a distance of d by 2, second is at 3 d by 2, third is at 5 d by 2, and so on and so on. So we can generalize easily that the nth element will be placed at 2n minus 1 d by 2. Okay. So we have written over there that the distance of nth antenna from origin will be plus minus 2n minus 1 d by 2, depending on whether it is on positive z axis or it is on negative z axis. If it is on positive z axis, the distance is plus 2n minus 1 d by 2, and if it is minus z axis, the distance is minus 2n minus 1 d by 2, where n can vary from 1, 2, 3 up to capital N. Okay, so when you place n is equals to 1, you have 2 into 1 minus 1 d by 2, that is d by 2. So first element is placed at Z1 is equals to d by 2, plus or minus, depending on positive axis or negative axis. Similarly, for mth element, the last one will be placed at 2m minus 1 d by 2. If it is on positive z axis, then it is plus 2m minus 1 d by 2. If it is on negative z axis, then it is at minus 2m minus 1 d by 2. Okay, so in this manner, we define the position of the elements on the antenna array and the position of point of observation with respect to every individual elements of the antenna array. The magnitude we purposefully choose to be distributed symmetrical around the center of the antenna array, or in this particular case, center of the origin. So then we know that the array factor for an antenna array with identical antenna elements. Here we also consider that all the antenna elements are identical. Okay, keep one thing in your mind, that when we talk about array factor, it is always assumed, if whether it is said or not, that all the elements are identical. These elements can be excited with different magnitudes of current or can be excited with same magnitude of current. They may have different phase differences or they may have progressive phase difference. They may be placed at different points. But if they are identical, in that case, we consider we talk about the array factor. Okay. So in case of these non-uniform antenna arrays, we consider that all elements are identical. All elements are alike. Okay, antenna arrays with different elements we had studied in some of our previous lectures in spatial antennas like log periodic antenna array or Yagi-Uda or something. Okay, So for such for this particular case we are talking about, in this particular case the expression for array factor is given by summation of uh, summation for all antenna elements, or summation n is equals to 1 to capital N, where the capital N is the number of elements in the antenna array. So it is n is equals to 1 to capital N an e to the power minus of jk zn cos theta, where zn is the position of the antenna on z axis, or position of the element on the z-axis, nth element on the z-axis. Okay. So using that expression, we had already been through the same expression in many of our classes. That's why I have not written the same thing. So the array factor in this particular case can be written like this. First element is placed at a distance z is equals to d by 2. That's why the component for that particular expression element in array factor is given by a1, the magnitude or the excitation of current, into e to the power minus of jk and zn. What is z1? So z1 is d by 2. That's why it is e to the power minus jk d by 2 cos theta. What is theta? So theta is this second coordinate of the point of observation. If point of observation is somewhere in far field, this angle is theta. And since point P is in far field, all R, R1, R2, R1 dash, R2 dash, Rm dash, all are assumed to be parallel. And that's why this angle is theta. Okay, when this angle is theta, how can you find these approximations between for magnitude and for phase? So we had already found that for any of these antenna, suppose you talk about this first antenna placed at a distance d by 2, what is the relation between R1 and R? So if point P is in far field, R1 and R are approximately parallel to each other. In that case, R1 can be written as R minus d by 2 cos theta. Okay, and similarly R1 dash can be written as R plus d by 2 cos theta. Okay, we had verified already this the same results many of the time. That's why I have just written over there that here I will come to this point a little bit later. So for first antenna, the array factor expression, the component in the array factor expression is a1 e to the power minus j k d by 2 cos theta. For second element, it is a2 e to the power minus j 3 by 2 kd cos theta. And for mth element, this becomes e to the power minus j 2m minus 1 by 2 kd cos theta. This is this above MLE, this above portion of array factor is for all element on positive z-axis. Since all the element on positive z-axis, their position is positive, and correspondingly the phase portion here is negative. Okay, why? Because there is summation an e to the power minus jk zn cos theta. So if zn is positive, the phase expression is negative, and if zn is negative, the phase term is positive. Similarly, for the elements on negative z-axis, you have z to be negative, and correspondingly all these elements, all these m elements is having positive phase value. So first one is having a1 e to the power j kd by 2 cos theta plus a2 e to the power j 3 by 2 kd cos theta up to am e to the power j 2m minus 1 by 2 kd cos theta. Okay, and it is very simple here now. You can very well see here that by adding all these things, or if you look at the complete array factor expression, they will jointly form a trigonometric expression. Later on, we will find the same. So, and all these things, all this array factor is written with these two approximations. So the magnitude approximation says that distance of every antenna element from the point of observation is approximately same as the distance of point of observation from origin. When the point P is in far field, or the point of observation is in far field, and you are talking about magnitude approximation. But when you talk about the phase approximation, you cannot directly replace Rn by R. Rather, you have to replace Rn by R minus 2n minus 1 by 2 d cos theta, or R plus 2n minus 1 by 2 d cos theta, depending on the position of antenna, whether it is on positive z-axis, on above origin, or below origin. If it is above origin, if it is on positive z-axis, then this first expression will be used, and if it is on negative z-axis, then the second expression will be used. And same minus and plus signs are reflected here. So this minus and this plus is because of this. Okay. So as I said, in array factor expression, we can combine the exponent with positive and negative phase values, and correspondingly the array factor can be written as 2a1 cos of kd by 2 cos theta plus 2a2 cos of 3 kd by 2 cos theta plus 2 am cos of 2m minus 1 kd by 2 m minus 1 by 2 kd cos theta and so on. And jointly, for a compact expression, we can write this array factor when number of elements are even as considered in designing this binomial antenna array, or in this particular case, so array factor is given by 2 times of summation of n is equals to 1 to m an cos of 2n minus 1 by 2 kd cos. Okay, when you start submitting n is equals to 1 to m in the expression and adding them, you find again the same expression. Now, since 2 is available everywhere in the expression with each and every term, for qualitative analysis, when we think of the normalization of array factor, we can remove these 2. Okay, so later on when we will perform some numerical, we will not use this term 2. This will not affect the shape of the radiation pattern, and we are concerned with the shape of the radiation pattern. Okay, shape should be, we need maxima in a particular direction. So when we talk about maxima in a particular direction, that means we are dealing with the shape of the radiation pattern. That's why there is no meaning, or if we can avoid this too, there will be no effect of on the shape of the array factor. Okay. Now, if we think of the same case, same system or same arrangement for odd number of antenna elements. When we consider number of elements in the antenna array capital N to be odd, that is 2m plus 1 type. Okay, we consider here n to be 2m plus 1 type. When it is so, we again place the antenna elements on the antenna array such that they are situated on positive and negative z axis and distributed symmetrically around origin, and magnitude will also be provided, or the excitation will also be provided such that they will also distributed symmetrically around the origin. So the arrangement looks like this. First element is placed at origin, then 2 elements are placed at a distance or at position z is equals to d and z equals to minus d, as you can see, with same amplitude. This is having amplitude of excitation A2, this is having amplitude of excitation A2. Similarly, third element or third set of element is placed at a distance or at position z is equals to 2d and z is equals to minus 2d with excitation A3 and A3. Okay, so amplitudes are symmetrically distributed. The inter-element spacing is d, element spacing between every 2 consecutive elements is d. All are situated on z axis, and their distribution around origin is also symmetrical. In this manner, the one of the element with magnitude am plus 1 is placed at md, and similarly at position z is equals to md and z is equals to minus md, as you can see. And these mth element, both of them are having same magnitude am plus 1 and am plus 1. Okay, purposefully we consider that the first element is provided with magnitude 2a1. Okay, this will help us to write a compact array factor expression. Okay, that's why we consider this excitation provided here, the first element placed at origin as 2a1, and remaining things are same. The distance of point P from point P is in far field, the point of observation is in far field, and the distance of point P from origin is r, and from second element it is r2, r3, rm, and similarly elements on negative z axis, the distances are r2 dash, r3 dash, and rm dash, and so on and so on. Okay, so and you can verify that there are total 2m plus 1 elements. So from A2 to am plus 1, these are m elements, and from A2 to am plus 1 on negative z axis, these are m elements. So that is 2m elements total and 1 on origin, so it is 2m plus 1. Again, using the same expression for array factor, you have array factor expression written, or for 2m plus 1 element will be given by this. So for first element, this is 2a1 a to the power minus jk z. Z is the position of the element. So the first element is placed at origin. That's why z is equals to 0. When you substitute z equals to 0, first element or the first term in the array factor is just 2a1. For second, you have a2 e to the power minus jk d cos theta. For third, you have a3 e to the power minus jk 2d cos theta, and so on and so on, up to for m plus 1, you have e to the power minus j mkd cos theta on positive z axis. And when you think of negative z axis, the same can be written as a2 e to the power j kd cos theta up to am plus 1 e to the power plus j mkd cos theta. with the same form of the approximations for magnitude and now when we combine the positive and negative phase terms, the array factor will come to a simplified form as you can see. So the array factor become 2a1 plus 2a2 cos of kd cos theta plus 2a3 cos of 2kd cos theta plus up so on and so on up to 2am plus 1 cos of mkd cos theta. Now you can very well understand that why we consider the magnitude provided to the first element by 2a1. This is because now you can take 2 outside this array factor and compactly it can be written as n is equals to 1 to m plus 1 a n cos of n minus 1 kd cos. Okay, we will use these two expression for array factor when uh, performing some experiment or performing some numerical or designing of binomial. Okay. Now, what's the meaning of designing an antenna array, particularly in case of binomial antenna array? It means that to find the magnitudes of or excitation provided to different element at different positions. Okay. So we have to find that at what position, or I should say, if an element is placed at a specific position, what should be the magnitude provided to it, so that on the basis of binomial expansion. Okay. Now we know that binomial expansion says 1 plus x to the power m minus 1. If any expansion, actually binomial expansion can be expanded from a plus b to the power m. For our case, we consider a to be 1 and b to be a variable x. So it is 1 plus x to the power m minus 1. So if we expand 1 plus x to the power m minus 1 using binomial expansion, the expansion looks like 1 plus m minus 1 c1x plus m minus 1 c2x square plus m minus 1 c3x cube and so on up to m minus 1 cm minus 1 x to the power m minus 1. Something needs to be, I hope you know the things very well, that in the expansion of 1 plus x to the power m minus 1, there are total m terms, number 1. Okay, if power is m, there will be m plus 1 term. If power is m minus 1, there will be m terms. Okay, and we are going to assign these coefficients. How many coefficients are there in this particular expansion? So since the degree of this binomial expansion 1 plus x is m minus 1, that's why there will be m terms. And so these m coefficients, a coefficient with every term will be allotted as excitation to an binomial antenna array having m elements. Okay, the first thing. So if you have to find the core idea is here. If you have to find the excitations for a binomial antenna array with capital N element, what you should do, if you have to find, if there are total number of elements are capital N, then you should expand 1 plus x to the power n minus 1, 1 less than the total number of elements. And the coefficients of every term should be provided to every element. Okay. For finding these coefficients, one way is to solve this combination logic m minus 1 c1, that means factorial m minus 1 upon factorial 1 into factorial m minus 1 minus 1, that is factorial m minus 2, or in this manner. Or the second way is Pascal's triangle. So what is a Pascal triangle? As you can see here, this is a Pascal triangle, and this Pascal triangle provides you the coefficients of all the terms in the expansion of 1 plus x to the power m minus 1 for a no given m. Keep this thing in mind. What the Pascal's triangle gives you is the coefficients of 1 plus x to the power m minus 1 for a given m. If m is given to be 1, then 1 plus x to the power m minus 1 will be 1 plus x to the power 1 minus 1, that is 0. So 1 plus x to the power 0 is 1. So for m is equals to 1, expansion of 1 plus x to the power m minus 1 will give you just a single term with coefficient 1. That's why for m is equals to 1, you have a 1 on. For m is equals to 2, 1 plus x to the power m minus 2 is equals to 1 plus x to the power 1, and 1 plus x to the power 1 is just 1 plus x. That means the coefficient of first term is 1 and coefficient of second term is also 1. So for m equals to 2, the coefficients are given by 1 and 1. For m is equals to 3, you write 1 plus x to the power m minus 1, that is 1 plus x to the power 3 minus 1, which is equal to 1 plus x whole square, and 1 plus x whole square can be written as 1 plus 2x plus x square, and coefficients in the of every of these three terms is 1, 2 and 1. 1 plus 2x plus x square. So first coefficient is 1, second term is 2x, so coefficient is 2, and third term is x square. So coefficient of variable is again 1 into x square. That's why the coefficient written over there is 1 to 1. Similarly, for m equals to 4, this become 1 plus x to the power 4 minus 1, that is 1 plus x to the power 3, and 1 plus x to the power 3, when you expand it, you have 1 plus 3x square plus 3x, sorry, 1 plus 3x plus 3x square plus x cube. So correspondingly, the expression look like the coefficient will be 1331. And similarly, you can find or every of these Pascal triangle, every row of this Pascal triangle will provide you the coefficient of 1 plus x to the power m minus 1 for this given m. Okay, there is another simple method to write this Pascal's triangle. Okay, how can we write that? So first two row you have to write by yourself. First row consists of 1, second row consists of 2 ones. For third row, what you have to do, in, or I should say, in every row at the extreme ends you have 1, as you can see. At extreme ends you always have 1. So you fill ones on the extreme ends. And for finding the other in between values, you have to use the previous values available. So when you sum these two things, or I should say, when you fill first row is filled by a single 1, second row is filled by 2 ones. For third row, you place 2 ones, one at the start of the row and other at the end of the row. Now you have to find the in between value. This in between value will be sum of these two. So 1 plus 1 will give you 2. When you go for m equals to 4, these two ones are already fitted. At the start of the row you have 1, at the end of the row you have 1. To find these position at this number, when you add 1 plus 2, you get 3. When you add 2 plus 1, you get 3. Similarly for this 4, when you find 1 plus 3, you have 4. 3 plus 3, 6. 3 plus 1, 4. And 1s on the ends. 1 plus 4, 5. 4 plus 6, 10. 6 plus 4, 10. 4 plus 1, 5. And 1 on the end. Later on, at the ends you have 1. And 1 plus 5, 6. 5 plus 10, 15. 10 plus 10, 20. 10 plus 5, 15. 5 plus 1, 6. And 1s on the board. So in this manner, it is very simple for us to write Pascal triangle for simpler calculations. Even if you are very good in your programming skills, you can write a program for displaying Pascal's triangle. Okay. So either using expansion or from Pascal's triangle, we can find the coefficients of the expansion of 1 plus x to the power n minus 1 when n is the number of elements in the antenna array, and the coefficients of the 1 plus x to the power coefficients of the terms in 1 plus x to the power n minus 1 in sequential order are allotted as or are considered as the excitation provided to elements in the antenna. Okay. So as an example, we are explaining here that assume n is even. So for example, we consider n to be 6. When we consider n to be 6, we should expand 1 plus x to the power n minus 1. That is 1 plus x to the power 5. Expand 1 plus x to the power 5. How many terms you are having in 1 plus x to the power 5 expansion? Obviously it is 6. And these 6 values will be provided to in sequence to or these 6 values are considered to be the excitation of the elements of antenna array in sequential manner. Otherwise, you can use the Pascal's triangle. So for n is equal to 6, you go to this Pascal triangle. In this particular case, we have written m, it can be n. So for n equals to 6, you consider this line. These are the coefficients of the expansion of 1 plus x to the power n minus 1, that is 1 plus x to the power 5. So the coefficients are 1, 5, 10, 10, 5, 1. We written all the things over here. So 1, 5, 10, 10, 5, 1. And all of them should be allotted to the, since there are 6 elements, so origin is somewhere here in between, then A1 and A1, A2 and A2, A3 and A2. Now by comparison, A3 will be equals to 1, A2 will be 5, A1 will be 10, and we have considered initially that the amplitude should be symmetrically distributed. So by default, the binomial expansion will give you uh, this particular distribution. That is why we had considered elements or the excitation to be symmetrically distributed around. Okay. Similarly, if n is odd, suppose you consider n to be 5. When you consider n to be 5 and your objective is to find the excitation provided to all the 5 elements of this non-uniform antenna array, what you have to do is you have to expand 1 plus x to the power 4. When you expand 1 plus x to the power 4, you will get 5 terms. If you use Pascal triangle for n equals to 5, you find the coefficients in order as given by 1, 4, 6, 4, 1. Okay, when you consider this to be 1, 4, 6, 4, 1, correspondingly A3, and when you compare with the magnitudes or the excitations assumed, since we have assumed that for odd number of elements in the antenna array, the excitation values are 2A1 at the center, and then A2, A2 and A3, A3 and A4, A4 and A5, A5 on both the sides of origin. So comparing them, we have A3 is equals to 1, A2 is equals to 4, and 2A1 to be 6. So 2A1 to be 6, that means A1 is equals to 2. Okay. So in this manner, we can find the coefficients for the antenna, binomial antenna. One more thing which is very important here and which should be kept in mind always when you deal with antenna array is that if you are having certain magnitudes given, that in an antenna array all the elements should have same magnitude, or as we have considered, or as we have talked in case of uniform antenna array, that every of elements should have same magnitude, or every element should be excited with same magnitude of current. So what does that mean? That means that if one of the element is provided current 1, all of them should be provided with the current 1. If one is provided with current 2, all of them should be provided with current. Okay, so what essential is the mean is that when we are saying that every of the elements should be provided same current, we are talking relatively to each other, relative magnitude of the current provided to the elements. Okay. Similarly, when we have given that in this particular case I am talking about, when we have given that A3 should have coefficient 1, A2 should have coefficient 4, and A1 should be equals to 3, or the antenna at the center should have magnitude excitation 6. What does that mean? This means that the magnitude provided to the second antenna, or this coefficients A2, antenna with magnitude A2, the excitation provided to them should be 4 times the excitation provided to these A3s. Okay, that's an important point to consider here. Okay, so as an example, I have written over there that if A3 is 3 ampere, for example, suppose you provide the current A3 is equals to 3 ampere to these two antennas at the extreme ends in binomial array. In that case, A2 will be 4 times A3. As you can see, when A3 is 1, A2 is 4. So when A3 is 3, A2 should be 12 ampere. And correspondingly, when A3 is 1, A1 is 3 times A3. Okay, so when A3 is 3 ampere, A1 should be 9 ampere. This is a very important point to keep in mind. Okay. Now, there are some properties of binomial antenna array. So, actually, for binomial antenna array, very quantitative derivation is not possible. Okay, it is not even for a generalized quantitative derivation is not given for the characteristics of binomial antenna. That's why the things are considered in qualitative manner. So we are expressing them just in terms of properties of this binomial antenna array. So in binomial antenna array, there is no side lobe. It will not produce any side lobe. That means whole power, the complete power is radiated in main lobe only. Okay, but only if the inter-element spacing is lambda by 2 or less. If the inter-element spacing is greater than lambda by 2, you find side lobes in the radiation pattern. How we can find that, or how we can check that? It is very simple for you. You use some simulation tools for antenna designing, and using that tools, you start preparing a binomial antenna array or an antenna array with uniform spacing and provide them the excitation as per the binomial excitation. And then for varying inter-element spacing, check out the radiation pattern. You can very well find that for inter-element spacing less than or equal to lambda by 2, there will be no side lobe, but in any other case, you will find the same. The second thing is on the basis of qualitative analysis, when the D is equals to lambda by 2, the inter-element spacing is lambda by 2, half power beamwidth is given by 1.06 upon square root of n minus 1. Okay. I have written this expression here because many of the time in our examination, we found that there are numerical for finding half power beamwidth of a binomial array with D is equals to lambda by 2. Only for this particular case when inter-element spacing is lambda by 2. Okay, so in that case, when D is equals to lambda by 2, half power beamwidth is given by 1.06 upon square root of n minus 1. We know very well what is half power beamwidth. So half power beamwidth is the angular separation between two directions in which the radiating power is half of the maximum value around on both the sides of the maximum value. Okay. So now we know very well that when we talk about an n-element antenna array, if first element is placed at point A, second element and last element, nth element is placed at point B, and if inter-element spacing is constant, that means the distance between every two consecutive element is constant. In that case, these remaining n-2 elements will be, or I should say, the distance between B to A, that is BA, will be divided in n-1 sections by the position of these n elements. If first is placed, if suppose you are having 5 elements, first element is placed at 0, second will be placed at D, third will be placed at 2D, fourth will be at 3D, fifth will be at 4D. Correspondingly, there are four divisions, and at the extremes of these divisions we put these elements. Okay, so correspondingly the total length L, if we divide this total length L, that is 4D by D, what you get is n-1. Okay, in our particular case, if we are having 5 elements, we substitute 1 at 0, then the last will be at 4 and 4D, and the total length of antenna array will be 4D. When you divide this 4D by D, what you get is 4. And what is 4? 4 is 1 less than the number of elements in the antenna array. So n-1 is equivalent to L by D. When D is given to as lambda by 2 here, n-1 can be, D can be replaced by lambda by 2, and you have n-1 is equals to 2L upon lambda. Substituting this 2L upon lambda here, you have half power beamwidth given by this particular expression. Similarly, for the same case of D is equals to lambda by 2, directivity is given by 1.77 square root of n, where n is the number of elements. And using this expression here, 2L by lambda is equals to n-1, you can find n is equals to 1 plus 2L by lambda. Okay, correspondingly, this is the directivity, 1.77 square root of 1 plus 2L by lambda. Now there is a practical disadvantage of this binomial antenna. What is the practical disadvantage? So the practical disadvantage is that the difference or the relative magnitude of different excitations provided to different amplitudes in binomial antenna array is very, very large. I mean, when you are having 10 elements in the antenna array, it is possible that one of the element is excited with the excitation coefficient 1, and there is one other coefficient with excitation value 256. This is very big. Suppose you are providing 1 ampere current to one element, then another one will be provided with 256. And in between there are amplitudes, like if one element is provided with coefficient 1, second one will be at 36, next one will be at 84, then 170 something, and then 256. So the spectrum is very large. Your power supply to feed such an antenna should be very, I mean, the designing of such power supply is very difficult. Okay, which produce such precise values of current. Okay, so that's a practical disadvantage with this non-uniform antenna. This is the first non-uniform antenna array we had studied. Okay, so now we have a numerical for the same. How to find this excitation? We had already. So the question is, for a 10 element binomial antenna array with spacing lambda by 2, find excitation of all the 10 elements. Also find half power beamwidth and maximum directivity. Okay, so since there are 10 elements, 10 means there are even number of amplitude, even number of elements in the antenna array. So when you allocate or when you position 10 identical elements on z-axis symmetrically about origin and with constant inter-element spacing d, which is given as lambda by 2 here. So the positions are as shown in the figure. Okay, this is origin. First element, or I should say element with excitation A1 are at z equals to d by 2 and z equals to minus d by 2. Elements with excitation A2 are at z equals to 3d by 2 and z equals to minus 3d by 2, and so on and so on, and up to finally you have A5 and A5 at positions 9d by 2. Z equals to 9d by 2 and minus 9d by 2. Okay. So how to find this excitation? Very simple. Since number of elements are 10, you have two options. Either you expand 1 plus x to the power 10 minus 1, that is 1 plus x to the power 9, and find the coefficients in the sequence of the expansion. So you use those coefficients to be allotted from here. First coefficient of the first term will be A5, coefficient of second term will be A4, coefficient of third term will be A3, and so on and so on. Otherwise, you go to the Pascal triangle. In Pascal triangle, for n is equals to 10, there will be 10 terms, and those 10 terms are like 1, 9, 36, 84, 126, 126, 84, 36, 9 and all. You can see that there is huge variation in the relative amplitudes of the excitation. This poses a problem. Okay. Anyways, so by comparing, we can very well check that the first element is having excitation A5 is equals to 1, then A4 is equals to 9, A3 is 36, A2 is 84, A1 is 126, and since it is symmetrical distribution, remaining all are having the same distributions also. Now the half power beamwidth, when d is equals to lambda by 2, we had already written over there that it is given by 1.06 upon square root of n minus 1, n is 10, so we substitute 10 here, so it is 1.06 upon 10 minus 1, that will be equals to 0.353 radian. You know very well the half power beamwidth is given in terms of radian. Okay, and in terms of degree it is 20.2. Similarly, maximum directivity for d is equals to lambda by 2 or inter-element spacing d is equals to lambda by 2 is given by 1.77 square root of n. Okay, and when we substitute n is equals to 10, we found d0 as 5.597, and if you want to convert it to dB, directivity can be converted directly to dB by 10 log 10 base of the value, so it is 7.48. Okay, so in this manner, we had studied the first topic or first non-uniform antenna array in our syllabus. Okay, if you have any query, you can very well ask me directly or through WhatsApp, and in our next session we will find or we will learn the design of Dolch-Chebyshev antenna array. Okay, so thank you and thank you very much.